Good morning. It is after Thanksgiving now. I would like to welcome you all to another episode of The Pirate Therapist. I am Lee Perry. I am your host, and I want to just welcome you back. It's been a couple of weeks. The last 2 weeks have been pre recorded episodes that I did so I could go on a vacation. I had a good time. I'm feeling pretty chipper. It's nice. The weather here is not as nice as it was in the Bahamas, so that's kind of sad. I'd kind of like to go back, but here we are. So, nice thing about being back is I get to start making these fresh again. So let's start on today's episode. Today, I want to talk about love languages. Love is one of the most powerful experiences that we can share as human beings, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Sometimes we give love with the best intentions, yet the person that we care about doesn't seem to feel it. Other times, someone pours their heart into us and it completely just sails right past us. We don't get it. We miss it. And it's not because we don't love each other. It's because we're speaking different emotional languages. Now, most of us have heard of the five love languages. This is a book written by Dr. Gary Chapman, and we're not really going to talk much about that today, but I liked what he did there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about one I personally feel like maybe he missed that is kind of perhaps a foundational love language to all of the others. But we'll get into that. First, let's talk about what the five love languages are in case you're unaware. These five love languages, they help people understand the ways that we connect with our partners, with our friends, with our kids, with our coworkers, even ourselves. Each love language is like a doorway into someone's emotional world. And when you know which door brings you closer to people that you love, everything becomes clearer. Communication, conflict, closeness, that connection, it all becomes easier. So, according to Dr. Chapman, the five love languages are words of affirmation, and that's love expressed through encouraging words, praise, appreciation, and spoken warmth. We have two, quality time. This is love that is expressed through presence, attention, and shared experiences. Three, gifts. Love is expressed through thoughtfulness, tokens of affection, and symbolic meaning. Four, acts of service. Love is expressed through helpfulness, through effort, and easing someone else's burdens. And five, physical touch. Love is expressed through closeness, comfort, physical connection. None of these languages are better or more meaningful than the others. They're simply different ways in which we show or love to be shown love. We like to be shown love in some of these different ways. And this is how we hear and understand love, perhaps according to Dr. Chapman, in these five ways. When you understand your own language and the languages of the people that matter to you, you help build a bridge between the two of you. You stop guessing and you start understanding, and love becomes easier to navigate, becomes easier to feel. I don't really want to talk about these. Those are good because I'm going to add one. I'm going to call it the sixth love language, because when my wife and I talked, she was expressing some frustration at one point because she could not seem to pin down my love language. And I'm like, well, they're kind of all acceptable. And she's like, no, that's not okay. She wanted more specifics. And so she had me go online, and I found an online test. They're all over the place. You can find them, that is going to help you narrow down and tell you which one of those five love languages is your love language. And we found one that's going to break it down by percentages and tell you which love language is yours by percentage. And so when I took the test, I came up at 20% in each love language. And my wife was frustrated. She's like, you manipulated the test. No, I didn't. I don't know that they actually all fit me. I mean, they all fit as much as any one fits another. I don't know that anyone I would say is exactly it. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the sixth love language, the one that makes all of these matter. With this sixth love language, any one of those other five love languages works for me. It helps me feel loved. It helps me feel like I am connected, and that is important to me. So, when we talk about love languages, what we're really talking about is emotional translation. Think about it this way. Two people can speak English, but emotionally, they might be speaking two completely different dialects. One person might say, I cleaned the whole house for you, believing that that was an expression of love, while the other person is thinking, I just wanted you to sit down with me and ask me how my day was. Neither one is wrong. They're just communicating love differently. The five love languages became popular because they gave us a simple vocabulary for something incredibly complex, and that is the human connection. It offers a framework that helps couples and families build emotional bridges over gaps that would otherwise feel confusing or frustrating. But even though the framework is powerful, it's not the full picture. And love isn't static. People change, relationships change, and the emotional landscape we live in today is more complicated than it was when the five love languages was introduced. We live in a world where people are constantly overwhelmed by noise, by information and comparison and demands. Attention has become a scarce resource. Presence has become a gift. A genuine, thoughtful connection has become something people are starving for. It's not enough anymore to say, I love you, or to do something helpful. Many people are craving something deeper, something that says, I'm paying attention to who you are. I understand what matters to you. I am attuned to your inner world. I'm thinking of you even when you're not right in front of me. And that's where love languages matter the most. They don't just help us communicate, they help us understand each other's emotional architecture. They help us see the invisible parts of people, their needs, their insecurities, the way they feel valued, the way they feel ignored. And because of that, love languages can profoundly change relationships. They teach us that love is not about intention alone, but it's also about alignment. You can be trying very hard in a relationship and still be missing the mark. You can give someone love in a way that feels natural to you, but if it doesn't land for them, they might still feel unseen, unimportant, or misunderstood. Love languages matter because they create that emotional bridge instead of emotional guesswork. But there's still a piece missing. One piece that so many people intuitively feel but haven't had a name for. A piece that can't be fully captured in the original five love languages because it isn't tied to words, actions, gifts, time, or touch. It's tied to awareness, mindfulness, attention, presence, consideration. It's a love that lives in your thoughts, not just in your behaviors. That's the idea of the sixth love language, intentional and meaningful thought. That's the sixth love language, and it's important. And that one rings more true for me personally when I feel that I hold space in someone's thoughts, when I am important enough to them that I know I matter because they think about me. They save space in their head for me. And that makes me feel loved. And through that, any one of the five love languages is now okay. Without that, none of those five love languages mean anything to me. But I digress. Let us continue. Our relationships don't just thrive on what we do, they thrive on what we notice and what we consider, what we remember and what we hold space for. What we think about when we think about the people we love, that's what we're exploring today. There's a kind of love that doesn't always get talked about, a kind of love that's quiet and subtle, often invisible, but very meaningful and very powerful. It's the love that happens in your mind, not in your words or your actions, not in any of those five love languages, but in your thoughtfulness. Let me explain. Most of us have moments when someone crosses our mind in a meaningful way, a spark of recognition, an internal moment of warmth, a sense of appreciation or memory or gratitude, a flicker of concern or care. Maybe you hear a song and think, oh, this is so them. Song makes me think of that person. Well, maybe you walk through a store and something small catches your eye and it reminds you of their humor or their style. Maybe you remember a story they told you or a worry that they shared or a dream that they mentioned once in passing. Perhaps you keep a little mental list of their likes and dislikes, of their quirks, of their favorite things or tiny things that make them who they are. Those moments matter. Most people never know that they matter because they often go unspoken. And yet, being meaningful thought is about one of the deepest emotional human needs we have. Being thought about meaningfully is what I'm trying to say. People want to feel like their presence expands beyond the moments of their physicality in a room I want you to think about me not just when I'm in front of you, but I want to be important to you later too, even when I'm not around. People want to feel like they exist in someone's inner world, like they're a priority even when they aren't close, but also when they're not. And this is where the sixth love language lives: intention and meaningful thought. A love language of someone saying through their thoughts or actions, their words and their silence, I notice you. You live in my mind and you matter in my world. And I care enough to hold you in here, in here. This love language is not about grand gestures. It's about emotional attentiveness. It's the partner who remembers you having a stressful meeting today and texts you about how it went. It's a friend who remembers your favorite author and sends you a quote. It's a sibling who recalls that you don't like certain holidays, so they check in on you. I saw this and thought of you. It could be something tiny and silly, but it made you think of them. It's the person who pays attention to your emotional patterns, your subtle cues, your needs. You don't always need to say them out loud. This love language validates something tender in the human heart. I want to be held in your mind. I want to be considered. We all want to be remembered without having to ask. In a world full of busyness and distraction, where attention is fragmented and shallow, this kind of deliberate thoughtfulness has become rare. And it means it becomes even more meaningful when it shows up. Intention and meaningful thought is love that exists in the warm glow of someone's inner awareness of you. It's a love that says you're part of my world, even when we're apart. You matter, and I take time out of my day to think about you. You take up a space in my heart and in my mind, and I welcome it. The sixth love language has nothing to do with following a formula. It's about emotional attunement and the simple yet powerful truth that you take space in my mind and in my heart. What you think about reveals what you care about. And feeling cared about on that level, that can change your relationship. Sometimes it can even save a relationship. Let's bring the sixth love language down from the theoretical and into the everyday, because intention and meaningful thought is something we feel long before we ever consciously recognize it. Again, it's not about romantic gestures and grand, elaborate surprises, and it's not about perfection. It's about the small things, the tiny signals that tell someone that I exist in your heart and in your mind, even when you're not in front of me. And here's what that looks like in real life: remembering the details they don't expect you to remember, not the obvious things like birthdays and anniversaries, but we don't want to forget those, but little things like the name of a coworker that you struggle with at work, or a show that they want to try and see, a story about their childhood pet, a random snack that they love, perhaps a work meeting that they're anxious about, or something that bothered them in a dream. These little things, when we remember and we ask about them, it shows the other person that they matter, that they take up space, and they are meaningful to us. When someone remembers something small that you said in passing, it feels like being validated, like your inner world didn't evaporate after you spoke it. We want to anticipate the needs without them being spoken. We can't always do that, but it's nice when we can. Not in a mind reading way, just in a paying attention kind of way. If someone comes home from work and they're tired, you know, saying something, say, "Hey, have a seat. Can I get you a drink? Can I rub your feet?" Noticing that perhaps they're stressed, grabbing a bottle of water because you know they don't remember to hydrate. Seeing the weather and texting, "Hey, don't forget to take a jacket. It's going to be cold today." Stopping by to help when you know that they get overwhelmed in the evenings. Sending a funny meme when you know that they're stressed. Just checking in with them to see if there's anything you can do. Sometimes that's all it takes. There's not always something you can do, but just checking in shows them that you matter, that you care. It's simple, it's thoughtful, and it's attuned. It's just paying attention, and we can do unexpected check-ins, and I don't mean that in a stalkery kind of way. Stalking is bad. Don't become a stalker. I'm not telling you to do that. But texting someone and saying, "Hey, I'm texting you just because I was thinking about you. Hey, a song popped into my head and it made me think about you. And now I miss you." Or, "Hey, you popped into my head. I was thinking about you. I want to know if everything's okay. I saw something that reminded me of you today. How's your day going?" These things matter, and they show people that they matter. These effortless moments feel like emotional safety nets. They make people feel validated and emotionally cared about. They feel held, even from a distance. They know they matter. Intentional thought shows up in the words we choose. How did your appointment go? I've been wondering about it. I remember when you said this thing was hard for you. How did it go? Are you doing any better? Tell me more. I want to understand. I know this matters to you. Help me understand so I can perhaps help you. Or, hey, I didn't forget. I remembered that this was a big deal for you. Or I remembered that you just liked this kind of cookie, and so I bought you some. That kind of thing. These small phrases and acts, they can land with massive emotional impact. They say, I'm not just hearing you, I'm storing pieces of you because I care. I'm carrying you in here. This is where the sixth love language starts to overlap with the other five, but there's a key difference, and that's in the thoughtfulness in action. The intention behind the action is the love language. Buying someone their favorite snack because you crossed their mind. Setting aside an item that you saw because you knew they liked it. Sending a quote from a book that relates to something that they're struggling with. Saving a photo that reminded you of a conversation. Sending a reminder for something important, not to control them, but to support them. These gestures say, I see you, I understand you, and I care in a way that is thoughtful and personal. Remember, stalking's bad, don't do it. Checking in with people because you're thinking about them, that's okay. Thoughtfulness in presence. This is the quietest and most powerful form. This includes giving someone your full attention, remembering something they said perhaps last week, asking follow-up questions, practicing that reflective listening, noticing when something is off, looking at their body language and saying, hey, I'm not sure what I'm seeing, but something doesn't seem right. Is everything okay? Showing interest in their inner world. It's an emotional presence. It's not perfect, but it is attuned. Thoughtfulness in absence. This is where the sixth love language can shine because it's not about I'm with you right now. It's about you are in here. Excuse me. You are in here. You live in my heart even when we're not together. It looks like perhaps planning something with them in mind, making small choices while considering their likes and their dislikes and their feelings, holding their dreams and their fears and their stories as if they matter, silently rooting for them, thinking about how to make their day easier, remembering something they love and saving it to share later. This is a love that exists quietly but constant. Why does all of this matter? Intentional and meaningful thought is not a grand performance. It's soft, it's steady, it's consistent presence in someone's internal world. It shows them that I value you. I'm connected to you. I invest myself in you. You matter beyond utility and convenience. You're not alone in this world. And that sense of emotional significance, for many people, that's the thing they crave most, more than any of the five love languages. They want to be thought of. This is true for me, and I know I'm not the only one. They want to be thought of deeply and intentionally. They want to be thought of sincerely and genuinely with care. This is the heart of the sixth love language. We're living in a time where people are more connected digitally and more disconnected emotionally than ever before. On paper, we have endless ways to communicate. Texts, DMs, emojis, video calls, social media, voice notes, voicemails, emails, you name it. There's just so many ways to communicate. But despite all of this communication, people feel lonelier, more overlooked, less emotionally valued than in any previous generation. Why? Because attention has become fragmented. Presence becomes divided. Everyone is multitasking, overstimulated, exhausted, or distracted. Our minds feel constantly pulled in a lot of different directions. And in that environment, most relationships don't suffer from a lack of love. They suffer from a lack of mindful attention, not because they don't care, but because they're overwhelmed. It's why intentional and meaningful thought matters so much. It cuts through the noise. It makes a person feel like they exist in someone else's inner world in a way that is grounding and stabilizing. It's validating. It's important. It's one of the rare forms of connection that stands out in today's culture. Here's why it stands out. Because people are starving for mindful attention. We're drowning in surface level interactions, scrolling, liking, heart reacting, skimming, multitasking while listening, half present conversations. Most People rarely feel deeply seen. So when someone is so thoughtful and genuine in a deliberate way, it hits like water in a desert. Even simple things like, I remember you said you were nervous about today. This made me think of you. Taking the time to consider and think about someone it can feel very profound, not just for you, but for the person you're thinking about if they know you're doing it. The sixth love language fills a need that has gotten bigger and bigger. The need to feel that someone is holding space for you inside of them, not just reacting to your outer life. Feeling thought about it does something powerful to the nervous system. It settles it. When someone feels that they matter in the background of your mind, not just in the foreground of your schedule, it gives them reassurance and stability. It helps them feel like they belong, like you're connected. It reduces anxiety and increases emotional trust. We're wired to feel safe when we know someone is thinking about us with care and consistency. It's attachment, but it's a healthy adult form of attachment. It builds trust in a unique way. Consistency of thought is one of the deepest forms of loyalty. It says, I don't just care about you right now when you're here, but I carry you with me even when you're not. You matter when life is hectic. That kind of emotional reliability makes relationships feel solid and dependable. It builds trust not by what you do, but by what you remember and what you consider, because it strengthens bonding in a non demanding way. Some love languages can feel like pressure. Words of affirmation require expression, acts of service require time and effort. Quality time requires scheduling. Physical touch requires presence. Gifts require money or planning. But intentional and meaningful thought, it fits into the rhythm of daily life. It doesn't require forced action. It doesn't demand performance, and it grows naturally. It can be expressed without overwhelming the giver or the receiver. In a world full of burnout, this is a love language that feels accessible and sustainable, but it's subtle, it's gentle, it's deeply intimate without feeling heavy. Thoughtfulness is emotional. It's emotional intimacy in its softest form. It doesn't invade. It doesn't require vulnerability for someone before someone is ready. You don't have to wait for them to be ready for you to do this. It doesn't push people into deep emotional conversations. It simply says, I'm aware of you. I'm paying attention. You matter. You are important to me. It's intimacy that breathes. It gives space. It offers connection without pressure. Most love languages fluctuate. When life gets busy, quality time gets harder. When stress increases, physical touch often decreases. When money is tight, gifts can get scaled back. When energy is low, acts of service drop off. When mood dips, words of affirmation don't flow as easy. But thoughtfulness is portable and constant. It's independent of circumstance. It can thrive 20 years into a marriage, across a long distance relationship. It can be between adult siblings or in friendships. It can thrive even in brief but meaningful connections, because being thoughtful doesn't require the perfect situation, only that you genuinely care, because it creates an emotional remembrance. And this is important. People remember how they felt in your presence, but they also remember how they felt in your absence. Whether they felt forgotten or held, dismissed or valued, excluded or considered, being intentionally thought about creates an emotional footprint, a positive imprint, a sense that I matter enough to live inside of someone's mind. And that imprint can outlast disagreements, distance, misunderstandings, and even time apart. I feel that this love language is the foundation to every other love language. Thoughtfulness is the language behind the other languages. It's the force that fuels them. You can express words of affirmation well if you're not thinking about who the person really is. You can't do that. You can't give meaningful gifts without thought. Acts of service come from thinking ahead, and quality time is about thinking someone deserves your presence. Physical touch is meaningful because you thought about their comfort and their needs. Thoughtfulness is the emotional engine. And that's why defining it as its own love language gives it depth and the recognition it deserves. One of the beautiful things about the love language of intentional and meaningful thought is that anyone can learn it. It's not about being naturally romantic or emotionally fluent. It's not about having great memory or being particularly intuitive. It's about slowing down enough to notice things and caring enough to follow where that noticing leads. Here are concrete, realistic ways to put this love language into practice without pressure or perfection. Start paying attention to the little things. Take note of what makes them light up, what frustrates them, what they keep going back to again and again, and try and understand why. Look at their daily patterns, their worries, what makes them happy, what makes them smile, what brings them comfort, what are their pet peeves, what are the things they love but rarely ask for. When someone tells you the little things, they're giving you these emotional breadcrumbs to their inner world. Following those breadcrumbs is thoughtfulness in action. You don't have to memorize anything. You can write it down if you want. There are their favorite snacks, songs that they like, a book that they are interested in, dates that matter to them, fears they're trying to work through, items that they don't want to buy but they want, topics that they care about, upcoming stressful events. This isn't about being calculating, it's about being considerate. The payoff is huge. When you bring up something later, they feel seen on a deeper level. There's a term, and I'm not sure how much I like it, but micro thoughtfulness. It's a tiny gesture that takes 30 seconds, perhaps, but it makes a big emotional impact. Just sending a text saying, thinking of you. I like these. I just don't know how I like the term micro thoughtfulness. But sending a text saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. Sharing a meme or a quote, something that will make them smile, or just something that reminded you of them. Asking about something that they mentioned earlier, setting aside something that they'd enjoy, checking in on them. If you check in on them when you know they're going through something stressful, this micro thoughtfulness, if done consistently, is more powerful than grand gestures. This is one of the strongest ways to show someone you truly care in your mind that you keep them there. Just saying, hey, how did that thing go today? It can be more meaningful than an expensive gift. Why? Because it shows that their life took up mental and emotional space for you beyond the moment that they told you. This emotional investment is one of the purest forms to show you care. Look for emotional shifts in people. Thoughtful people pay attention not just to what someone says, but how they feel. Thoughtfulness is paying attention and saying things like, you seem quieter today. Is everything okay? Or that sounded like it was hard. Would you like to talk about it? You don't have to push. Just noticing is enough to make someone feel valued and safe. This doesn't mean assuming, it's gently thinking ahead, anticipating what they might react to, bringing water because you know they forget, they don't remember to hydrate, reminding them of something important that you know that they had on their calendar and they perhaps can be forgetful at times. Grabbing a tissue because they always get teary at the same movie scene. Sending an encouraging note before a big moment. Anticipation shows care without control. Connect without an agenda. One of the most thoughtful things you can do is reach out without needing anything. Just, good morning. I hope you have a good day. I saw this and thought of you. I'm cheering for you today. No demands, no expectations, just connection for connection's sake. This is emotional generosity at its best. Sharing your inner thoughtfulness is important. Thoughtfulness feels invisible unless we let people see glimpses of it. This doesn't mean over explaining. It means occasionally letting them know. I remembered something you said last week. I thought about you today when I saw this thing, or when I thought of that. I keep that thing you told me in my mind. People thrive when they know that they're taking up mental real estate in a positive way. It's very validating. Asking questions to show that you care. Hey, what part of your day today made you smile? What happened today that drained your energy more than most? You mentioned a project. How's that going? Were you surprised by anything today? How are you doing really? Thoughtful questions unlock meaningful conversation. And be present when it matters the most. Thoughtfulness isn't constant perfection. It's present in key moments, like showing up in times of stress, offering comfort in times of loss, trying to just be there without trying to fix, giving your full attention to important conversations, being reliable during emotional moments, validating when someone is vulnerable. Presence is the purest expression of intentional thought. Let yourself be touched by who they are. This might be perhaps one of the deepest things. Allowing someone to matter to you, truly matter, is a choice. When you let them influence your thoughts, your awareness, your daily perspective, that is thoughtfulness in its truest form. It says, "You're part of the landscape in my mind." When someone feels that from you, that bond deepens. Thoughtfulness should be a practice, not a performance. You don't have to get it right all the time. You don't have to be constantly trying to prove anything. You don't have to turn it into a pressure filled task. Just notice, care, remember. Show small signs of paying attention, those notes, those texts, just thinking about you. It's love that breathes, love that wanders, love that whispers instead of shouts. And that kind of love changes people. The beautiful thing about this love language is that it's universal. It doesn't matter if it's your partner, your best friend, your sibling, a coworker who keeps accidentally stealing your favorite pen. Everyone feels valued when you show them, "Hey, I thought about you today." So let's break it down by relationship. In a romantic relationship, most of us think love has to be grand. A surprise trip, a candlelit dinner, rose petals on the floor like you're in a dramatic soap opera. But meaningful thought speaks in small, steady ways, anticipating their stress and bringing home perhaps some of their comfort food for dinner. Remembering the little stories they tell you and bringing them up weeks later. Noticing when they're withdrawing and gently checking in on them. Sending them a message throughout the day. "Hey, I hope you're being kind to yourself today." This love language becomes the heartbeat of the relationship. Tiny, but consistently pulses. And it tells them that you matter even when you're not in front of me. In friendships, they thrive on shared presence, but they're also held together by thoughtful moments in between. Sending a TikTok or a meme that reminds you of them, checking in on big days, interviews, doctor appointments, anniversaries, or perhaps difficult memories, showing up with a tasty beverage because you know their week has been brutal, saying, "Hey, I saw this and thought of you," even if it seems silly. It's the quiet reassurance that says our friendship lives in my world, whether we're together or not. And for the people who feel forgotten easily, that love language is life saving. With family relationships can become routine, predictable rhythms, obligations, schedules. Intentional thought disrupts that pattern in the best way. It can look like remembering little preferences like Stephen doesn't like mushrooms, or mom likes her birthday to be low key. She doesn't like a big deal being made. Leaving a note for a sibling who's been going through a rough time. Checking in on your adult kids without the interrogation energy. Texting your parents just to say something kind without needing anything. It creates warmth in relationships that often survive on autopilot, and it turns family from obligation into connection. In the workplace, and yes, this love language can absolutely transform professional relationships, not in a romantic way, but in a human way. This might look like remembering a coworker's important presentation and asking how it went, bringing an extra snack or a frosty beverage because you know they forget lunch when they get stressed, sending a thoughtful compliment about something that they do really well, a quick message, "Hey, I thought you handled that situation really well." Thoughtfulness builds trust. Trust builds teamwork. Teamwork builds a workplace where people feel safe to take risks and they know that they have someone at their back. And that builds success. And it can be a very underrated leadership skill in the world. Why this love language works everywhere is because at the core of every human relationship, there is one silent question we ask. Do you see me? Intention, intentional and meaningful thought answers the question every time with an undeniable yes, absolutely. You matter enough to take up space for me. I save part of my mental awareness for you specifically. This love language works across every relationship because it taps into that something universal. We don't just want love when we're together. We want to feel loved in the moments when we're apart. And that tiny miracle of being remembered is what strengthens every bond in our lives. And here's what you need to know. You're someone who values depth. You don't want empty gestures. You want meaningful ones. You feel loved when someone remembers or anticipates and truly gets you. Your heart responds to intention, not intensity. And that's not needy or high maintenance. It's a sign that you love emotionally, spiritually, and attentively, and you want the same in return. The biggest challenge, people may not understand that what you're craving is mental engagement, not perfection. So communicate it. I feel most loved when someone really thinks about me, not just acts. So as we wrap up today's episode, let's sit with this idea a little longer. Love isn't just the things we do, it's also the things we hold in our mind about someone. The sixth love language, intentional and meaningful thought, reminds us that love lives in the small places in between actions. It lives in remembering someone's heart, anticipating their needs, noticing their feelings, and letting them know they cross your mind even when life is busy. This love language is soft, it's subtle, it's easy to overlook because it rarely announces itself. But it's one of the most powerful forms of connection we have because every person, no matter how strong or confident they seem, wants to know one simple thing. Do I matter enough to be remembered? When you practice this love language, when you think about people deeply and intentionally and kindly, you're offering them an answer that reaches straight into their emotional core. Yes, you matter. You are important. You are worth the space you take up in my mind and in my life. Perhaps the most beautiful part is it doesn't take money or perfect words or grand gestures to speak this language, just awareness, presence, genuine care. Imagine a world where we all practice intentional thought, where we paused long enough to send the message, I thought about you today. Relationships would soften and loneliness would shrink. Love would feel less like something we chase and more like something we inhabit. So as you go through your week, try this. Think of someone that matters to you. Let them know that they crossed your mind. That one moment could mean more than you ever realize. Thank you for listening, for showing up, and for being someone who's willing to love with intention. So, me hearty, that be all the emotional plunder you'll be getting from me today. May your compass stay true and your burden stay light. And may you always find calm seas inside your chest. May the peace you find be more consistent than my accent. So till next tide, take care of your heart and your mind, or you'll be finding yourself arguing with seagulls again. So fair winds and gentle feelings to ye. Now weigh anchor and dock back here next week for our next episode. For now, I bid you adieu.